cash is a trap, even in today's elevated interest rate environment. If you're sitting on a lot of cash or cash equivalents, you need to watch today's video. How you doing, guys? My name is John Boyd. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the founder and lead wealth advisor at Modern Wealth. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you like today's content. So I've been vocal about this for a while. Earlier this year, I was quoted in Barron's stating that cash is a trap, and I still stand by that statement. So first and foremost, it's no secret that most investors tend to have shiny object syndrome when it comes to investments. Over the last few years, we've seen dividend stock mania, tech stock mania, crypto mania, and even meme stock mania. Fast forward to today's interest rate environment, and now that new shiny object is, you guessed it, cash. But the problem with this type of behavior and chasing cash is that this can potentially harm investors' long-term returns and cause people to lose a lot of money. So before I go in on why I believe cash is a trap, let me make this very clear. Cash fundamentally has a piece in 99.9% of portfolios. It's important. There's no doubt about it. Having a cash or cash equivalent on hand for your emergency fund, for cash allocated towards a down payment, for cash set aside to fund the first couple years of retirement if you've just retired, or if just having a little bit of extra cash gives you some peace of mind because you have a low risk tolerance, are all perfectly reasonable. The problem with what's happening right now is that cash is becoming the star of the show in the portfolio. And oftentimes the reason for this is entrenched in poor logic. So let's break down the 3 key points as to why I believe cash is a trap. Number 1, cash long-term is a poor inflation hedge and wealth accumulation vehicle. From 1972 all the way to the end of 2022, inflation has averaged around 4% per year. The growth of the US stock market has been 12%, meaning that the real return net of inflation is 8% on average per year. On the flip side, looking at that same time period from 1972 to 2022, if you had consistently invested in a 3-month T-bill, your average rate of return is around 4.5%, meaning that your average rate of return net of inflation is just about 0.5% per year. Something else to keep in mind regarding the 3-month T-bill in the study, which we are using as a proxy for cash, is that the interest rate on a 3-month T-bill is generally going to be much higher than your average savings account or even high yield savings account. So based on this data, the average savings account or money market fund isn't going to provide much in terms of inflation protection or long-term growth. Number 2, the decision to sit in cash is the exact same thing as trying to time the market. So I already know what some of you are already thinking. You're probably thinking that markets are due for a correction, we're about to head into a recession, so why would I want to risk having my money in the stock market? I might as well take advantage of some juicy 5% up yields in some money market fund or high yield savings account somewhere and take advantage of that, right? What's really interesting, especially in today's world where investors are getting smarter and more knowledgeable, most people, I believe, fundamentally get that investing takes patience. You have to be in it for the long run, and that time in the market is better than timing the market. But for some reason, with cash at over 5% thrown into the mix, all this logic goes out the window. Intentionally sitting in a heavy cash portfolio is no different than trying to time the market. And you need to remember, when you time the market, you not only need to have the perfect exit strategy, but you need to have the perfect re-entry point as well. And the reality is that most of these investors that are too nervous to invest now, when that big sell-off happens, are probably going to be nervous to invest then. Why would it be any different, especially when things are nasty? So I'll give you an example of this. When I was an associate advisor, I was under 2 lead advisors. And one of my jobs was to keep track of all the clients in the practice that had a lot of cash on hand. These clients explicitly told us that with this cash on the sideline, they just wanted to invest that money when the time is right. They were keeping it on the side and they wanted us to give them a phone call to help them invest it when markets pulled back. So sure enough, when markets would pull back, I would be calling up all of these clients, and guess how many actually invested? I'd say about 90% of these clients said no, a little nervous, let's just hold off, I'll just sit in cash, right? Or I'll just wait until things get better and then I'll invest. I anticipate that this is going to be the same issue for people sitting around in cash. I'll end this point with this note. Studies show that you only need to miss the market's 10 best days in order to have your returns cut in half. And the issue is you don't know when those 10 best days are going to be. Hence why sitting around in cash is generally a poor investment decision long term. Point number 3, cash equivalents are no different. So this is something that I am seeing a lot. And that's folks fundamentally understanding that cash is a poor investment decision long term, but then they think they've cracked the code by investing in something like a 2-month treasury or a 3-month CD or even a money market fund. The reason why I've been explicitly saying cash equivalents throughout this video is that cash equivalents are viewed as exactly that, cash. These are securities with very limited principal risk. They're incredibly liquid and they generally mature at a maximum of 3 months out. And I'm starting to see this trend a lot of people ditching stocks and investing in ultra short-term T-bills as a foundational investment strategy. Again, this is no different than sitting around in cash. So if you have fallen into the cash trap or know a loved one that has fallen into the cash trap, or you're thinking about falling into the cash trap, this is what I want you to keep in mind. Number 1, I'd encourage you to have definitive investment goals. You wouldn't just hop in an airplane with a pilot that had no idea where they're going. So why the heck would you do the same thing with your life savings? It sounds cliche, but having clear and defined investment goals makes it much easier to invest. Number 2, time in the market is more effective, and there's plenty of studies that show that you should invest your money now, today, rather than wait. But the problem with that is that that can be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. And I find that taking some action is better than no action. So if this is you, I'd consider incorporating something like a dollar cost average strategy to slowly invest that cash into a clearly defined investment portfolio over time. And then on top of that, have mechanisms in place like limit orders that maybe trigger at a 10% sell-off so that you can automatically buy more and accelerate those purchases when markets sell off. Number 3, investing isn't black and white. What I mean by that is that investors tend to go all in on cash or all in on stocks, and there's no semblance of meeting in the middle. Great example of this. You look at people in their 40s, late 30s that are, maybe a decade plus away from retirement. In their 401ks and retirement accounts, they're all in stocks there. But in their non-retirement accounts, they're all in cash or pretty much all in cash. And the reason for this is that in the retirement accounts, they fundamentally understand, oh, that's long-term, I'll be aggressive there. But in my non-retirement account, I have no idea what to do, so I'm just going to sit in cash. It's very black and white. Maybe consider incorporating assets that are less risky than stocks with less growth potential, but at the same time have more growth potential over the long run than traditional cash. Good example of this could maybe be a traditional bond fund or an alternative asset. But bottom line is, it doesn't have to be black and white, right? Just because you're sitting all in cash doesn't mean that you have to be all in stock. You can incorporate other asset classes to help even out volatility. Bottom line, guys, I still firmly believe that cash is a trap for all the reasons that we discussed. Cash has a place in a portfolio. There's no doubt about it. And some people are going to need more of it than others. But for it to be the foundation and star of the show in your portfolio, for 99% of people, that just generally does not make sense, and the data backs it up. If you enjoyed today's content, again, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.